You're listening to the Holistic Health Front podcast.
Whether you've already taken steps towards a healthier life,
or you're just starting to explore this path,
this podcast aims to help all of us live longer and more energized lives,
so we can all do the things we want and be the person we know we can be.
We bring on functional health experts, parents, professionals, and everyday people who want to make positive changes in their lives.
And we create powerful conversations about how to feel good in a fun, easy, and understandable way,
so you can live the most fulfilling life possible.
Enjoy today's discussion and let us hear your thoughts in our Powerful People Facebook group.
The information presented in this podcast is not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease.
If you have any questions about your health or the health of a loved one, please consult your healthcare practitioner.
Now let's begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Holistic Health Front podcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for every night that you join us. Tonight, we are super excited because we have a guest. We always love when we have guests. And this one I was particularly excited about because she is going to be a master in lab testing, and she's going to tell us all sorts of things about what we can do to support ourselves. But first, I want to talk about how we got connected to our guest. One of our other coaches here, Coach Shannon, she had the opportunity to meet our guest tonight. I won't spill the beans, but Shannon, tell me a little bit about how you met the doctor and how we're going to get to know her and a little bit about her.
Yeah. So, Dr. Aloma Geer, PhD in biochemistry, and in 97 through 98, postdoctoral fellowship in biochemistry and molecular biology at Columbia University Vallejo's College of Physicians and Surgeons. I hope I didn't butcher that name. How embarrassing. Since then, she's also held various positions in the industry before starting her own lab, Longevity Lab Solutions. And Aloma and I met at a health event here in Houston and hit it off pretty quick, talking about testing for hormones and testing for other things that bring up various symptoms for endometriosis. As you all know, that's my focus. And real quick, we became friends and helping each other out. And now I am a coach for her lab, and we're just taking it from there. So everybody,
awesome.
Welcome, Aloma. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very excited to be here, and it's an honor. Shannon and I quickly became friends and colleagues. We share similar interests in the field, and very happy to be on your show.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. What I'm going to do is for our viewers and for our listeners, we're going to talk about lab testing, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit different vein than you do when you typically go into a medical setting. Oftentimes you'll go into your general practitioner and they'll do a blood workup and things like that, and you get some information back, and then it's just kind of this, oftentimes it's a standard protocol that's followed, and oftentimes it's a one size fits all. We're going to check these particular blood lipids. We're going to check the blood glucose. We're going to check different things like that. We're going to, just look at certain factors, and then you're going to go from there. What I'm excited about, and I'm going to read a little bit about it from her website right here, is that Dr. Aloma Geer's laboratory actually does very unique lab testing to help us support our well-being. And so I'm going to read a little bit from her website just to get a kind of a full picture of what she does. And then we're just going to get into the nitty-gritty of how this affects us, how we as individuals can gain knowledge from these really valuable tests, and whether or not it's something that we want to pursue. And if so, how can we do that? So Longevity Lab Solutions, that is Dr. Aloma Geer's lab that she opened and runs. But what they do is they are a trusted clinical laboratory dedicated to unlocking the secrets of the human genome. Harnessing cutting-edge technology and the expertise of skilled scientists, they provide a diverse range of diagnostic solutions to physicians, researchers, and individuals. Their offerings span from routine medical tests to advanced genomic mapping, delivering actionable insights into potential health risks, genetic predispositions, and personalized treatment strategies. I wanted to read that out loud because it's not just your typical test. Like even these words I had to stumble over. So I'm going to just kind of pick apart what I just read. And I'm going to ask you, Aloma, if you can just explain to our listeners, what the hell did I just say? And what does it mean? Okay, so here we go. So not just your typical medical test, which I referred to at the beginning of this podcast, but what is advanced genomic mapping? What is that, and why is it important to our health? Why would somebody want to know that or be tested for that? What is that?
Right. So when we look at a person, right, if you look at yourself, we are made up of our phenotype, which is our physical presentation, right? Height, weight, all your blood work, markers, your physical presentation, biomarkers that you can measure, and so forth. We're made up of our phenotype as well as our genotype. So your genotype is your DNA. Okay. Now, the DNA that we are born with, we carry those variants with us, until we depart from this life. Okay, so, and those variants are in every cell of our body. Okay, the variants that we are born with. And those variants, 50% we get from our mom and 50% we get from our dad. Okay, we get one copy of each chromosome from mom, one copy from dad. Now, we are using next generation sequencing, right, to sequence a person's either exome or genome. And in that, we are looking for any variants or mutations. These would be inherited mutations, okay, that we would be testing for.
Okay.
Now, there are two kinds of mutations. There are the inherited mutations, which you're born with and you die with. Okay. The other type of mutation are acquired mutations. So acquired mutations are exactly that. It's mutations that we acquire during our lifetime based on our environment. Environment is what we're exposed to in our physical environment, but it also includes our diet, exercise, our thoughts, everything that we're exposed to as a whole. So actually, most conditions, for example, most cancers are only 10% of cancers are due to inherited mutations. Okay, so approximately 90% of cancers are due to acquired mutations.
So you're saying you're going to look at my genes, and when you find a mutation, it's not something that I'm stuck with. It's something that I developed. And how is this relevant to me? Do I have control over that? Like once I've got it, right? I mean, what are you going to help me understand? So you look at my genes and you say, okay, this is what you're stuck with. And you said these are inherited. Those are the words you use. Okay, those are my inherited genes. So that's what I got from my mom and dad, and I can't change those.
Right.
But you just said that there's these other genes that what was the word that you used?
Mutations or variants, they're acquired.
Okay. They're acquired genes. Okay, so they're mutations or variants.
Acquired mutations or variants.
Acquired mutations that I personally developed based on my lifestyle, my surroundings, my environment.
Your environment, yes.
Okay. And why would I want to know this?
Right. So we're not testing for acquired mutations. So acquired mutations usually will, for example, if a person has a tumor, okay, and, a biopsy is done, if it's not due to an inherited mutation, that tumor is less likely to spread, for example. That mutation is only found in that mass. It could spread, but originally it's only in that tumor. It's not in every cell in your body.
Okay. So it's less likely to spread. Those were the words you used.
It depends on the type of mutation.
Okay.
For example, BRCA1 and 2, those are inherited mutations, for example. But what we're doing...
For those that don't know what BRCA1 and 2 are, you're referring to the breast cancer gene? Okay, thank you.
Yes. So what we're doing, and what pretty much most genetic tests that's out there would be testing for, is inherited mutations. Now, depending on the mutation, some mutations are more severe than others. For example, if it is a mutation for a metabolic condition, most metabolic conditions are treatable.
Okay.
Right?
So for our listeners, what is a metabolic condition? I know what it is. I know the answer, but I just know that people are going to be, what does that mean to me? Because what happens with our podcast is we want to break it down so that your average listener can understand what a metabolic condition is. When you say that to me as a health coach, I'm going to look at things like blood glucose. I'm going to look at things like weight. I'm going to look at things like, your blood lipids and things like that.
Yes. Any condition that might be due to inflammation, diabetes, even high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease. There is a whole that we probably should look up the exact definition of metabolic, but there is a long list of metabolic conditions. But I will give you a personal metabolic condition. Okay.
This episode is brought to you by oxygen and carbon dioxide. Breathe deep, breathe slow. Are you tired of nagging headaches, body pains, and feeling like you've been steamrolled by 2 p.m.? Want to feel more alive with a clearer mind, voice, and skin?
Yep.
And not to mention getting rid of that pesky BO when the deodorant starts to wear off?
Ew.
Introducing to you today, water. Did you know that 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated? And did you know that majority of people who are dehydrated think that they actually are hydrated? That means most people are not drinking enough water. But if they did, and they realized how much of a massive difference it makes in how they feel to be hydrated, they would realize that water can change their life. So drink more water. Aim for 96 fluid ounces per day minimum for adults. Side effects include peeing more often the first couple of weeks, but don't worry, it will slow down soon. I know I should really drink less caffeine. I just wish there was some way of getting energy in the morning without a coffee. The sun! Wait a minute. I feel good. Especially when I close my eyes and stare at the sun through my eyelids. Wow, this is great. I think I'm ready to crush this day now. Thanks, sun. The Sun. Use it for free with care. Hey y'all, hope you've enjoyed these goofy little commercials. The information is all accurate and valid, so please use the tips we shared. Even though we're having fun and being silly recording them, they're still 100% meant to support you and entertain you. We'll be getting back to the show in just a minute, but first, I want to really encourage you to join our free community on Facebook. It's called the Powerful People Community, and it's a place where you can interact with other listeners of the show, including me, our other coaches and co-hosts and everybody. And it's a place where you can ask questions publicly or anonymously. You can request episode topics, you can share your story, and celebrate with a group of really amazing people who will also be celebrating you. So we really hope to see you in the community. We think we're building something really special because we believe when you bring together a group of powerful people, there's just so many great things we can do in this world, more than we could do on our own. So we're building a special community and we hope to talk to you there soon. Now, let's get back to the show.
this is our personal story. So my husband, we have a daughter. She's 22 years old now. But after I established my laboratory, I decided that we should sequence our entire genomes, right? We've been meaning to do that. Well, I say we, but it's me. I've been meaning to do that for our family, for the past 10 years. But, I'm busy, everybody's busy, and the time just goes. So finally, in 2021, I said, okay, let's collect our buccal swabs and let's sequence our DNA and see what's there. We are all three perfectly healthy. We, live a very healthy and active lifestyle. Nobody's on any medications. So like everybody else, I was concerned about, mutations for cancer. Mm-hmm. My mom was diagnosed with cancer when she was 33. But she had surgery and so forth. And fortunately, she is still alive and perfectly healthy. She's 81. And none of us, I have 3 sisters, it's 4 girls. We're cancer free, right? We're fine. But still, there is always that worry. In cancers, cardiovascular, heart disease, Alzheimer's, mm-hmm. right? Those are the 3 big ones that people usually worry about. And so you would test mom, dad, and each child. So we did the test, and I was very, very surprised at the results because, we did not have any of those mutations for any cancers or heart disease or neurodegeneration. But surprisingly, both myself and my husband had a mutation in the BTD gene. So the gene that's responsible for biotinase, for the metabolism of biotin. All right?
Oh,
okay. Very rare condition. It's called biotinase deficiency. So it turns out, and we are not, my husband and I are not related at all. So he is Hungarian born, and I am from Guyana, so of East Indian ancestry. So I was very, very surprised to see that we had the same mutation.
Interesting.
So both copies of his BTD gene were affected. So it means that he inherited an affected copy from both his mom and dad. It is a condition that is autosomal recessive. So it means that both copies would have to be affected for you to have the condition.
Okay.
Okay. As opposed to autosomal dominant, which is when if you have one affected copy, your risk for that condition increases by a certain percent depending on the mutation that we're looking at, right?
Okay.
So I have only one affected copy. So my husband could only give an affected copy to our daughter. And from me, she could have gotten either an affected or a non-affected, and she got my affected copy. So she has biotinase deficiency, and so does he. And you would think, okay, biotin, it's for hair, skin, and nails. What's the big deal? None of us are bald. Surprisingly, my husband has a full head of hair, and he's 62. I still have my hair. So it's a very rare condition. It's metabolic, but, and if you look at the over-the-counter, vitamins for hair, skin, and nails, it has 5 micrograms of biotin, in it. So people with biotinase deficiency, have problems with the metabolism of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins.
Oh.
So it all started to make sense. Especially, my daughter, the complaints that she always had tummy aches but nothing, we did nothing so severe because we were very healthy. And the only thing that they would need to do is have high amounts of biotin every day.
Okay.
So it's 100% highly treatable.
Okay.
Right. So, you may not notice that you have this condition if you are getting a high amount of biotin every day. My husband, he said as far back as he could remember, since he was 7 years old, he had these issues with digestion. And so because of that, as he grew, he was just very, very healthy. We met in college. He was already, no wheat, no sugar, no alcohol, just an exercise. He's very healthy, but he could not eat like regular. He could not, food. He would always have, all kinds of issues. Our daughter, had some issues. We took her to her pediatrician. She would have blood work done. Everything would be normal. But he was checking for B vitamins back then, I suppose. We took her to a homeopathic doctor, and it helped. We even took her to an acupuncturist. Different things help, but it didn't get to the root cause, right?
Right.
So now that we saw what the issue was, and that's the only mutation my daughter has.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this affected her, like upset stomach, and how she, and over and over again.
Back, she does have another mutation in the MTHFR gene, but the mild one. There are two mutations primarily that we test for in MTHFR. My husband has both. I have one. Our daughter has one. So those are the two mutations. So I'm sorry I interrupted you, but yes, that is the primary cause of all her issues. And apparently, so I started researching biotin, right? Biotin is deficiency. It's very rare. How could I have missed that?
Right.
But research is being done now where they're using biotin to treat people with MS. And the study showed that they're given these individuals up to 20,000 micrograms of biotin daily. And some people have regained up to 40% of their muscle function.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So 20,000 micrograms, that's 200 milligrams. It just sounds like a big amount when it's in micrograms, it's 200 milligrams. So I told my husband to, he needs to take biotin every day. So at first he was skeptical. He was like, well, all my issues can't be due to biotin. But maybe not all, but a large percent. Let's just try it. So he started with 20 micrograms. Okay. And I think he called me on the phone. He says, I can't believe it. I feel like when I was young again. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel different. And he was like, I can't believe that, it was just because of biotin. And it's because they are not able to metabolize, certain metabolic pathways in the body require biotin. And so they weren't able to have those functions occur unless they were supplementing or getting biotin from food. So, my daughter started as well, but I looked into it a little bit more as to is it included in the newborn screening?
Oh, it's a good question.
So newborn screening is, well, you guys will edit this out. It's state run, right? So the panel is not the same in every state.
Yes.
Right? So she was born in New York. And I did go and look it up, and she was born in 2001, and no, the biotinase deficiency was not performed.
Right.
So, but now it is included in, I did not get a comprehensive list, but it's included now, across the board, because it's perfectly treatable. So, my husband said, how come none of the doctors ever thought about doing this test? And it's not that they wouldn't have thought about doing it. It's just not mainstream, right? And
Right.
Insurance wouldn't cover it. It's an expensive test, right? To do a whole sequencing just to look at that gene. It's not expensive, but we wouldn't have known to look at that gene, right?
Right.
I would not have guessed that, okay, let's sequence the biotin gene and see what's happening there, right?
Right. You just know that.
Yes.
Exactly. So you've got a child that has symptoms. My stomach hurts. I'm having, different issues. I had the same thing, by the way. My daughter was struggling with some stuff. And what we found out, same thing. My stomach hurts, some disruptive sleep, just different things that just didn't seem, they seemed normal enough. I mean, she was healthy.
Yes.
She was functioning well in school. She was doing fantastic in everything. So there wasn't these big alarms going off, but there was just often things like, Mommy, I don't feel well. Mommy, my stomach hurts. Mommy, I got a little bit of a headache. And what we discovered is that her ability to methylate B vitamins was huge for her. Same thing. You got on some supplementation with just some basic vitamins. And all of a sudden, you notice these symptoms just dissipate.
Yes.
And I was kind of on a crusade to say, wow, it's not bad parenting. You haven't been feeding your kids the wrong food. Their sleep pattern is really good. Because as a mother, I know, because my daughter was very young when she started with some of her symptoms. And as a mother, you start to feel like, what did I forget? What am I missing? I have 2 kids. Why is one kid complaining every time, I fix a meal, and the other kid is not complaining every time I fix a meal? I fix the same meal for that child. So I remember feeling as a parent this kind of tug of war between what was going on. And like I said, we found out, that she lacks the ability to methylate the B vitamins, and wow, what a difference it made. Got her on a methylated B vitamin, no big deal. And it was just a completely different,
yes.
Expression. And so I love that you share your story about your daughter, because we really are confused oftentimes, because it doesn't seem like a crisis, but it's enough to make us go, what's going on here? Shannon, you wanted to add something to that?
Right. So I want to bring it back to the lab, full circle.
Let's do that.
Yes.
So any one of us on screen, out there listening, you have something and you're just not quite getting it. Something is just not clicking, right? So we can go to Longevity Lab and get additional testing done, testing beyond what the average Quest will do, right? And from there, we'll have somebody read it. Now, Dr. Aloma here, I know you are definitely fully capable of reading all of these tests. Do you do that for the customers, or do you give the folks the test to take to their doctors? How does that part work?
Yes. So because of all of these experiences, and even before we tested ourselves, because of what I encountered in the field and in working 30 years in the industry, is one of the main reasons why I've established this laboratory, and to do what we do. So because, as Shannon and Stephanie says, so we all have had the experience where all our blood work comes back normal, but we know how we feel. So the way it works at Longevity is we have several different panels, and if a person is interested in ordering a particular test, I'm happy to talk to them to determine what test might be the best test to set that baseline for the person, for you. So we have, it's called the Longevity Signature Blood Test. And I like that panel because we're addressing different issues. So we're looking at key markers. We're doing general blood work, your CMP, comprehensive metabolic, your CBC, A1C, lipid panel, right? We have to have that. And then we're looking at markers for oxidative stress, sleep health, brain health, and a few other things. If we could go to the website, it's on there. But the way it works is that you would select the test you want. It is a self-pay. We're all self-pay because insurance would not cover these tests, correct? And we would mail you a self-collection kit, okay? Depending on the test that you're going to have, if it's a DNA test, it's either done on a buccal swab, cheek swab, or saliva. Some of our hormones are done on saliva and blood. And then there is a basic urine test, and then there's blood. Okay? Now, saliva, buccal, and urine, it's easy to collect. Right? There is even a self-collection vaginal swab to check for certain women's health issues. I was excited when I saw that. But blood, how do you collect that? So there are couple of options that are available out there. Of course, we can schedule a phlebotomist to come to your home or office and collect the blood. It's very costly. There are some kits where you would use a lancet, right, to do the finger stick here on your finger, and then you would have to, really try to get the blood going, and the capillary would have to pull it up, and it can clot. You'd have to collect like 12 capillaries. Sometimes I've seen kits where, you have to do 4. And this part of your fingers is very tender. It hurts. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was excited when I found this particular kit. It was not developed by my laboratory, but we do offer it to our customers. So this is our kit, and it's a self-collection kit for blood. So, yes.
So very big. Longevity Lab Solutions. Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to get this in the mail from you,
yes.
Right? This is going to arrive in the mail from me. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And this is all on our website. There is a video on there, how to collect the sample, but I will show it to you. So this comes in the kit. This is what the kit looks like. Okay. And I'm going to explain to you what all this is. So, this is the device here. So the peel open. Take this out. Okay. It does have a lancet in there. Okay. So what you do, it will come with, these are microvacutainer tubes. These are miniature tubes to the large ones that you're probably familiar with. Okay. Mm-hmm. this is a serum separator tube. It has the gel in there. You take the cap off, you put it on here. Okay.
Okay.
And you peel the back and you put it on your arm. You take this off and you hit this button that punctures your arm.
Okay.
And within a minute, you'll see the blood starting to flow.
Okay, so it's something that I'm going to attach to my arm.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a little needle stick on your arm.
It does not hurt. I will attest to that.
Awesome.
It really doesn't. And then when it's full, you'll just peel it off. You'll take this out. You'll put the cap back on. It snaps in. Okay. Oh, sorry. Snaps in. There's a video on the website, blood collection. And then you invert 10 times and you put this in the bag here, right? And the kit comes with a prepaid priority overnight shipping label that comes back to our lab. So if it's mailed out today, we'll get it tomorrow morning by 10 o'clock. And we'll proceed with the testing. So
awesome.
The key things with this kit is that you need to be hydrated. Okay.
Okay.
I am really bad at drinking enough water, so I have to have the bottle with me all the time. But I tried it on myself in the afternoon, and it worked before, but now it wouldn't work. And my tech was right here and, it's flowing for, and I realized that I did not drink any water all day. Been so busy. So,
right.
Which would be approximately how much is enough water? 16 ounces, a liter?
So, I set, this little bottle and it's colored because I have some stuff in there that I need to take. And I know it's in a plastic bottle, which is not good, but I drank this 500 milliliters.
Okay.
I drank that and then tried it again and it was fine. So there are two things. You must be hydrated, and even while you are, having your blood collected, you could take a sip of your water, and you need to be warm. So this heating packet comes with it, but you could always just warm up your arm by rubbing it. And so just to get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
And yes, we've had a lot of success using this kit on autistic children.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of times, the child would not sit still for a needle, right? Mm-hmm. And they would have to be sedated. And so we've had success. The children have allowed us even to collect 3 of these on, one arm here, one arm here.
Oh, wow.
And, they like playing with the heating.
Yeah.
So
for those that aren't watching, that are just listening, it's basically an at-home kit that I'm going to use. I have to be hydrated. I have to warm up the area, the skin around that. But it looks like something that you basically, like a patch that you're going to stick on your arm, and you just put a little pressure on it, and then the blood starts to collect. Just a little bit of pressure. That's amazing, because I know there's a lot of people that are terrified of needles. My family, most of them are needle phobia. We go into doctor's offices and we have to say, okay, we're going to lie down or we're going to pass out. You get to choose, doctor, which one do we want to do? So I'm not needle phobia, but literally the rest of my family is. It's quite a joke in our family. So I love that this is just something that's kind of like a patch we put on our arm, put a little bit of pressure on it, and then it starts to collect blood. We don't have to find a vein. No. We don't have to, freak out about what spot or anything like that. So it's very convenient to do at home. So we've got the blood test that we can do at home. We've got the buccal swab, and that's where we take in the inside of the cheek, right? We use a swab and we swab the inside of the cheek. Yes. And then you said that you have a urine test. why am I going to need all these different tests? Let's talk about, we got blood, we got urine, we got saliva. Do I need to do all three? How am I going to figure this out? I just know I feel like shit and I want you to fix me, doctor. So how am I going to figure out what I need? Like, where do I start with you? Because you've got my interest and I want to feel better, but I don't know what to do. Where do I start?
Right. So, which is why we have the longevity signature blood test.
Okay.
And I would recommend that you start there.
Okay.
We also have what we call a female elite wellness panel and a male elite wellness panel. The only difference is that the male panel has PSA and free PSA, right?
Okay. For the prostate, yes.
For the prostate. Otherwise, it's identical. That panel looks at 24 different hormone levels. Okay, so it does include our full hormone panel. Plus, of course, our basic markers, routine testing, CMP, lipid, CBC, A1C, and then some other important markers as well. Your TSH, free T3, T4.
Right, that's going to be your thyroid.
Right, so that's done on male and female. The only difference, as I said, is the PSA.
Okay.
But if you have had, you've had your blood work done, you've had those markers tested, right? Then the longevity signature panel is what I would recommend, because there we have additional unique markers, right? We're looking at reactive oxygen species, right? We're looking deeper to see if you have inflammation going on in your body. If you have perhaps where is the inflammation occurring, right? What is the redox level in your body? Are you able to clear glutathione? Are you, we're looking at your mitochondria as well, right? A lot of times, we have low energy, right? So is it your thyroid? Is it your mitochondria? What is it? So that panel, we have more unique markers in that panel where we'll go a little bit deeper.
So just a quick recap. We go to longevitylabsolutions.com.
Yes.
So I will be posting this in our Facebook group. And the longevity signature, I'm just going to read here. General health from comprehensive metabolic panel, CMP, lipid panel, complete blood count, CBC, and HbA1c. Also brain, hormones, inflammation, micronutrients, mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, and sleep hygiene. So all of this gets tested for $625. And you can collect all of the samples at the convenience of your house.
That includes stripping of the kits, and the prepaid priority label. Perfect. And a 50-minute consultation with a provider.
You said 50, 50? 15 minute.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you're talking to me, you could talk for much longer.
But that's a great place to start, right?
Yes.
Because not only are you going to do the test for me and deliver the results, but then you're going to take 15 minutes to explain all that science stuff that I know nothing about.
Yes.
So
that's going to with help. A lot of explanation.
So let's say I do that.
What each marker,
I do the test. I do my 15-minute consultation. Are you then referring people to physicians? Are you then referring people to health coaches? Like, what's my next step once I have my 15-minute consultation with you? Because I've got all this information, and now where do I go?
Yeah, so we do have on our team providers that we have partnered with. So depending on the particular patient and what the concerns are, they would be given a choice of, which provider they would like to book an appointment with, or if they have their own doctor or naturopathic doctor, the results, they could take the results to that doctor. We also, of course, have partnered with Shannon, who provides health coaching, and her calendar is available on our website, and individuals visiting our website are welcome, of course, to work with Shannon to get on. Sometimes you may need some help to get on that path.
Absolutely.
Okay. From personal experience, we all know that we need that. And even if we're on the paths, sometimes you need that encouragement and motivation and support to continue, right? Because sometimes it can be hard.
Absolutely.
It can feel like we don't want to do it, but then it's really nice to have that support of someone that you can call. And,
it is.
Who you trust and will guide you and support you to get to your goal where you want to be, or just stay in the program. Don't fall off the wagon.
And I think that's a big selling point, because oftentimes you'll leave a doctor's office and you do have the information. You've even been given, the checklist or the protocol of things that you need to do. But this is my first time playing this game. And so to have a coach, like a health and wellness coach to support you, to answer those small questions, I think is very beneficial. So often we come home from, a particular appointment and we're just overwhelmed because we did get the answers and we did get a protocol, but I don't even know how to suit up, right? If we're going to use the example of playing in a game, you've all of a sudden asked me to play volleyball. And you know what? I've watched the sport numerous times, but I have never frickin' been on a volleyball court. So having a coach that's going to be there to help you decide what type of uniform you should wear and when you should play. And, that's just an analogy that we're using, but that does help, because oftentimes, if I'm understanding correctly, Aloma, it's not just a one-time thing. It's something that, especially with these metabolic issues, it's something that we're going to have to look at and make lifestyle changes. We're not going to just be able to take one pill and be done. We're going to have to, and it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yes.
It's a health
time. Yes.
Yeah, it's a health journey. It's not just a one-time treatment and we're done.
No, right. Correct.
Okay.
So, my thing is, okay. So, I have a cabinet or closet full of vitamins, right? A lot of us do, right? So how do we know what we should be taking, right?
Yes.
We hear about something, we hear, oh, this is really good for you. We buy it, we take it a few times, and then it's in the cabinet. So, I really do believe that it's a huge advantage to check your biochemical markers, right? Let's see what's happening in your body now. Let's see where the deficiency is. And, we can see right away, because we're looking at all these markers, sometimes we can see right what the issue is, right? Especially if you're looking at a hormone panel, you can see, okay, this is where the problem is, right? So we're looking at all of these markers. We can tell, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this. So it's targeted to you, what supplements you need, right? And you start on those. The signature DNA test is only done once in your lifetime, right? Because that particular test, we're looking at mutations that you're born with. They're not going to change.
Okay.
And we're looking at genes that will tell us about different things, your metabolism, your oxidative stress, how well you can clear toxins, etc. And that report is very clear. It gives you a very nice explanation of what the best diet is for you and exercise program. And you have different choices of the different types of exercise that you can do, right? So it's not difficult. It's there. We try to take the guesswork out of it, right? Mm-hmm. So after you start on the protocol, then, depending on what your particular protocol is, you would want to retest, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, to see if this is working. Now, a person can say, well, I feel better, so I know it's working. But how do we know that it's not placebo? Right?
Good question.
So that's why we're going to measure the markers, right? The truth is in the lab results.
Yes.
It's there.
Well, I love that it's basically customizing it, because I know I've been a health coach for almost 20 years, and I'll have a client come to me and say, listen, I'm doing all the right things. I've joined a gym, and, I do aerobic activity 3 times a week, and I've cut all the bad, quote unquote, bad carbs out of my diet, and I've, drinking all the water, and they're still not getting any results. And it can feel so disheartening.
Yes.
Like, I have put so much time, energy, and effort into healing my body, making my body stronger, and it feels like I'm running up against, a brick wall. So with testing, we can test and say, you know what, maybe that aerobic activity is not the best activity for you. Maybe you need something that's a little slower, like a yoga or walking or something. And that's the type of things that we can get from your test. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. The other important thing that we do. Yes, Shannon.
I have a client who has done all of the things, right? They changed their diet. They got rid of the processed food. They're drinking the water. They're doing the physical activity. And they have some numbers that are just not decreasing. Mm-hmm. Now, would this be a great example? And this is the part that I just thought of. You don't have to get a write-up from your doctor to order a lab test from your website.
Correct.
So if your doctor wants to do the test, they most certainly can back you and encourage you to do so.
Yes.
But you don't have to get the script for it.
Correct.
Like you do some other labs. So if you're just tired of beating your head against the wall and you've done all the things, this might be a piece to your puzzle to get to that root and finally help, get to where you want to be.
Yes, we do have our in-house physician that reviews all the tests that's ordered. But I do believe that we should be empowered to make our health choices that affect our health and our wellness and our longevity and our quality of life. And I'm not sure if you guys will have to edit this out. It's not to say, doctors are bad, but, you know how you're feeling. And if you would like answers to something, I really do believe that a person should be empowered to go and find those answers. Right.
And this is another option. So I'm 55 years old, and I'll just tell my own personal story just to kind of wrap it up. And I'm going through menopause, all this stuff that women my age go through. And I have had all the tests, I have great physicians, by the way. I love the doctors that I work with. Very open-minded to what I do, because, they'll ask me about something and I'll say, as a health coach, a nutraceuticals consultant, and energy healer. I do all sorts of stuff. So they're open to listening to all of my unique ideas. So this isn't against my doctors, but they have a limited number of tests that they have access to.
Right.
They haven't been trained in functional medicine. And it's just like going to a Chinese restaurant and wanting to order, Italian food. That Chinese restaurant is amazing and they do a great job at Chinese food. But what I really needed was Italian food. And so that's the example that I want to give so that we're not necessarily, putting any doctor into a particular category. It's just they have access to a certain number of tests and a certain protocols, and not every doctor has everything. So if you've gotten to that place where you're at the Chinese restaurant and you really need Italian food to make you happy, then I encourage you, Shannon, what's the website again? So that I know that we're going to put it in the
LongevityLabSolutions.com.
Okay.
Yes, and you can always shoot me an email at support@longevitylabdx.com. Okay.
Excellent. Super exciting. And, you talked about $625 for that base kit.
Yes. $625.
I just want to talk about sticker shock because I notice it sometimes with my clients. Oftentimes clients are dealing with this, not for months, not for years, but for decades. I literally will have people come to me, just like you gave the example of your husband, Aloma, that for years and years and years, this was just how it was for him. And then to find out that biotin was an indicator in what was going on with his physical issues. So if you've had this for decades and, $625 feels like a little bit of a sticker shock, just plan to save $100 a month for the next 6 months, make it your health a priority. Oftentimes people will shy away because of the sticker shock. And I just want to tell everybody that your health is so important. It is the vehicle, your body is the vehicle that you use to navigate this life. And so look for other options. You can also approach your health savings account. I know a lot of people have HSAs, and you can turn this into your health savings account as long as it's through a medical. I've had lots and lots of people look at their health savings account and have been able to be reimbursed for these types of work because we are working with, physicians and, legit laboratories and things like that. So keep those in mind.
Also FSA, flexible spending account.
Yes.
In addition to HSA.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if the card doesn't go through per usual purchasing options, you would get a receipt, itemized receipt, and submit that. And I've done that. And then they'll turn around and either directly deposit the money or send you a check, whichever you prefer. So I've had to do both. They're really much easier than I anticipated. So
yeah, that's good to know. Aloma, what's something that you really want to say to listeners, not just about the lab of what you do, but what's your passion about what you do? I know that, you didn't just wake up one morning and be like, I want to open a laboratory where we draw people's blood, urine, and saliva and test it. Like something has driven you to this point. So what is it that you want people to know? What is your mission about what you guys do?
Right. So we want to get to the root cause of the health issue, right? We want to get to the root cause because that's what personally we've struggled with. I'm 57 years old. My husband is 62, and we only discovered, our root cause 2-3 years ago. And I worked in the industry for 30 years, right? But we were completely healthy. So, no, our physician, they wouldn't test for more. So I really want to get to the root cause and help people to feel better, right? To address that underlying cause of the health condition or challenge, I should say, and fix it. And that gives me the most satisfaction when a person will call and say, for the first time in 10 years, I don't have this issue. I just realized it. So that's the biggest satisfaction. So one thing that we look at in the laboratory and what makes us unique is that, one of the things, right? Our approach is that we look at metabolic pathways, different metabolic pathways. Okay. For example, if we're looking at neuroinflammation, or we're looking at Alzheimer's, dementia, for example, we look at the different metabolic pathways that are involved and then identify what are the biomarkers we can test, because we cannot test for all of them. Some of them may have a half-life. You cannot test for them in serum or plasma or saliva or urine. It's only in tissue. And we don't want to test tissue because that's invasive, right? So we look at the biomarkers that we can measure and then look at how to correct any deficiency in that metabolic pathway. So this way it's targeted. It's not just, one size fits all or, try this, let's see if it works. We would be able to identify where the breakdown is happening and then correct that.
It's basically
we can measure it, right?
Right. And then you can customize a program specific to that person's DNA.
Yes. So maybe when you do that first test, and I'm looking to see how I could bring that price down. But for what we're testing, because the markers are so unique, it's worth it to do. But when you retest in 3 months, we may not need to do the full panel. We'll just need to test the markers that were deficient, right?
Yeah.
And see that there is change happening.
Yeah. Now, as somebody who works in the industry, $625 is actually very reasonable. I have seen so many comprehensive tests that are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800 to $500. So I think $625 is extraordinarily reasonable. Now that's from somebody that works in the industry that's been digging into this topic for years. But for our listeners, that is a very fair price point for.
I've been told that by pretty much all the providers.
Yes. And for something very comprehensive as well. So super, super excited. We're getting to the end of our hour here. Is there anything else that we want to add before we wrap up so that our listeners might want to, anything in
Shannon
particular that we've left out?
That example of where, a person is doing everything and may not be getting results, right? Or it might have been Stephanie or both of us, both of you and myself. Sometimes a person may need to detoxify before they start on a program. Like, for example, if you have a lot of oxidative stress happening in your body and you're taking, for example, omega-3, right? Which is wonderful. Super antioxidant, repairs the blood-brain barrier, right? But if you have a high oxidative stress going on in your body, you're going to oxidize that omega-3. And it's going to cause even more oxidative stress. So so that's why we have to look at the whole picture as to what's going on, right? So.
Wow. You just said something that's really important because omega-3s, for a lot of us that know about them, they're wonderful. They're great for brain. They're great for hormones. They're great for skin. We could go on and on. But if your body is not able to process it, it can actually be harmful.
Yes.
Okay. And that's true not just for omega-3s, but for anything. And that's why this customized approach to understanding what's going on inside our bodies is so valuable.
Yes.
So it's a great example.
I know. I'm excited. I'm going to be having my blood drawn next month, which starts tomorrow. And I'm excited to find out, what's going on inside as well. And, looking at the price, I had the website pulled up here on the other window. How much money am I going to save on supplements by buying only what I need?
Yes.
And not on a feeling.
Right.
Now, full disclaimer, I don't go buying all the supplements. I don't go buying everything that's suggested to me at the drop of a hat. Like, I try to do, some general blood work, what's not working in my diet, because I want to make sure that I'm absorbing it, right?
That's another thing, yes.
And so I'm excited for this opportunity at the end user's fingertips.
Absolutely.
Because now they don't have to go buy all the things. They can spend their money, find out what they actually need, and then just buy what's needed, if anything. I think it's just
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Shannon and I should both do the test, and then we should have you back on,
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months from now, and
Wonderful.
talk about, and talk about our results and talk about, what we did with you and have a firsthand experience. I think that would be a really fun follow-up podcast to this one here.
Such fun. That would be so exciting. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll
Very, very
mine
good.
as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do a follow-up with all of them. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Aloma, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And thank you so much for giving this valuable tool to everybody. You don't have to have a prescription for it. You don't have to live in a special state. It can be mailed to me. It's something I can do at home. It kind of takes all of the hassle and red tape out of trying to find the right answers, because I know there's so many people.
Cannot accept samples from New York.
Okay.
That is the only state that we cannot accept samples from.
Oh, I'm glad you said so.
Sorry, I
thank
forgot
you.
about that. Yes.
Yeah, New York has some interesting laws that we have to make sure that we follow. So, Aloma, thank you so much for having us. Shannon, thank you so much for introducing us to Dr. Aloma Geer. It's so exciting to have an expert. And go to her website. I've been to her website a couple of times in preparation for this podcast. Super easy to follow. Great videos to show you what to do. It's broken down very easily. And so we are super excited to have this option for our listeners. And I'm serious about having a follow-up podcast. I think Shannon and I should do it, and then we'll have you back on. So, Aloma, thank you so much for being with us. I want to thank our audience for spending the time with us tonight. And until next time, in good health.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And this was wonderful. And I look forward to seeing you guys at my lab and being on again to go over your to do a follow-up.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. It'd give our listeners some perspective. So
yes,
awesome.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.